Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th dimension. Before I jump in and start reading, I would like to thank you as always for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. It really makes a big difference to me, and it also helps spread this message. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to start reading here, but I want to let you know before I start that this part of the hypnosis session deals with what I term personal questions, which means that they draw on my personal experiences. Now, I know if I'm going through something, there are more people than just me going through the same thing, because we are all working on doing the same work in the background. But at the same time, things might be showing up a little bit differently from person to person, which is perfectly fine, obviously. But I wanted to bring up this particular situation that came up for me in a dream that made me think of something that happened in my life, because it has to do very much with the life reviews that we are doing, but also because you will notice, and this is something that I learned of just yesterday, and I am going to be asking about in the next session. There is a situation of threes in this particular situation. There were three people involved, which symbolized three different choices. And just so happens, yesterday I had a dream where I had the number three people come up that symbolized certain information. And these were not people I knew. They were just showing me the number three. And the situation with these three people came up three times. And yesterday as well, in the Telegram group, somebody said they had a dream completely unrelated, completely different sort of dream. And all of a sudden, number three came up, where this one person was told to start something at minute three. So there is something about the number three that's coming up, and I will find out what that is about. But for now, I wanted to bring this situation to your attention, and I'm going to start reading here. Lorrayne, what were the choices I was presented with? And the question, again, is written in the first person by me, but it's Lorrayne reading it. What were the choices I was presented with when I had to choose among Sam, Jack, and Robert, besides the obvious, which have to do with status and how I felt about them? What would have my life looked like with Robert? So these are people that literally showed up in my life at the same time. And so there were three paths in front of me that I had to choose among. And at 3D level, I was thinking of certain things, but I wanted to know exactly what was going on behind the scenes. So what would have my life looked like with Robert? Why did I decide on Jack, considering that he is a narcissist, if we don't come here to learn lessons? Was the pain I experienced with him meant to bring me to divorce and to awaken? I know we use low vibe triggers here, but pretty much everything is low vibe. So I'm sure I could have concocted some other low vibe trigger for myself, and I'd chosen someone else. Was I not supposed to stay in Boston, perhaps? Because Robert was based in Boston and he had a thriving business. He would have never left. His family was there and all of that. All right, so let's hear the answer. And again, I know it sounds like it's a me situation, but it really isn't. There's a lot going on here. Me. Yes, so we understand. So the reason, first of all, the reason why this question is coming up is because Claire has been getting dreams, and because she's still doing, we already said, she's already doing past life reviews. We always, not only some past lives, we have experienced things very similar to this lifetime, to what we consider our lifetime. But not only, we also keep doing the current life review all the time, continuously. So the reason this has come up, which is something that she hasn't thought about in decades, really, is because, again, she had dreams of a very similar situation to this that happened in her previous, in what she thinks of as a past life. And it was the same choice. Basically, the way that she breaks it down is status, love, and in the middle. Something where you care for the person, maybe not as much as for this other person that you're completely in love with, but you also know that this person will give you the lifestyle that you want, or you'll be able to build something together. So it's almost like a midpoint between these two extremes where you think you're going to be foregoing one of these things. And Clea, that's why she's been beating herself up saying, Why couldn't I be with Robert? I would have not had the issues I have now. Robert was a very rich man. And yeah, we're just telling her that he's gone now. But he was a very rich man. He would have definitely made Clea's life a lot easier. The reason Clea did not want to be with Robert is because she, and she knows this, she wanted to forge her own path. And she feared that Robert, being older than her, would tell her what to do, being so established already. He would tell her what to do. And because she's aligning with the thing she's aligned with, she's always been a rebel in that sense. She does not want to be told what to do, and she wants to decide what she wants to do on her own. So the reason she ended up with Jack is because, yes, of course, she knew who he was. We all know, laughing. They were laughing here. And they were referring to the fact that behind the scenes, I knew what I was getting into. We all know exactly who everybody is. We feel each other. We are each other. But she also got a lot of pleasure out of her life with Jack. We've already said she has done a lot of great things, that she's had a lot of fun. And in the meantime, at the same time, she was able to be free to do what she wanted to do. So there is another side of the coin here. And this would have not necessarily been the case. In fact, we're telling her this would have not been the case with Robert. Because Robert, and this is because of Clea, and not because Robert would have not allowed her to do certain things, but Clea, just like she felt in Italy like she had to toe a certain line, Clea would have felt like she had to live a very 3D reality, always, long term. And this would have made it a lot more difficult to align with the work that she has done at a spiritual level. Now, of course, she could have divorced Robert and done this later, just like she has done with Jack. But there is another facet to this, which is, yes, she would have been in Boston, most likely. And Boston, we already said, is one of the places in the country where they had very strong mainstream narrative during the pandemic. Clea didn't want this. That's why she's in Missouri. Missouri has actually been one of the freest places during the pandemic at a worldwide level. And of course, it makes total sense to Clea. Clea even had trouble with the small measures they had here because Clea does not like to be told what to do. And they were laughing. And she's aware of this. And so there are several things that went into this decision. And also, absolutely, and unfortunately, it's the way it has been here. The fact that, yes, Clea says there are so many low vibrational things that I could have done to wake myself up. Why did I have to go through such drama? Because, and this is not just true of Clea, but it's true of all of us, a lot of the times we need, and we've spoken about this before, Clea even made a video about this where she says, do we need pain to awaken? No, you don't need pain to awaken. We said this a million times because smell a flower and awaken. Unfortunately, though, on this planet, we need to be smacked in the head with a 2x4 to awaken. We need to be run over by a Mack truck to be awakened, because otherwise we just don't want to know. We want to be fully in 3D, and that's exactly the point. Clea, the reason she went through all those things at once, whereas any one of those things could have broken another person, and by broken we mean finally gotten to the point where they are questioning their entire life and their entire reality. For Clea, none of those things individually would have been sufficient because of how she thinks about life and how resilient she is at a 3D level. But when all these things, one after the other, happened, finally what happened with this man, you would say it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so did it need to be that dramatic? No, it didn't. If Clea had had a less tough mind in terms of, and again, there's no judgment, nobody's better or worse here, it's her personality. If she had been less tough-minded, maybe it would have been sufficient to have just cancer. Cancer is very much an awakening call for many people. But for Clea, the whole time she's thinking, nothing's going to happen to me. She already knew nothing would happen to her. So you see, we said this in regards to the tsunami. She survived the tsunami in 2004, and it didn't faze her one bit. Why? The entire time she was aware that it was not for her. She was never meant to die in it. She was just having fun in it. She goes, oh, look, an adventure. Do you see? So it's not about what happens, what it looks like on the outside. It's about how you feel about what's happening. And if you don't feel, if your higher self is not reaching the goal, the objective is set for itself by making this one thing happen, it will make something else happen. And so Clea's higher self, to get her attention, had to stack all these things together. And all of a sudden, voila, they were laughing. We have a Kundalini awakening. We have, we have all the things we have had, including a book and blah, 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 blah. And now we're talking with the 25th. It's all a chain reaction. Did it have to happen that way? No, it didn't. Could it have happened with Robert? Yes, it could have, of course, but it wouldn't have. because Clea knows it. As we're saying this, she would have thought, and she would have been so comfortable that she would have just stayed in that 3D reality. And I have to tell you guys, it is true, because I know myself, and I came here to play the game, and I love 3D. I have loved 3D, obviously not the stuff I've discovered in the last several years, but I have loved this planet, life on this planet. So, all right, we'll continue reading here. The reason why she was with Jack at the end of the day is because she knew that Jack would provide the necessary low vibrational energy to cause her to walk away. Robert would have not been able to do that. Robert was in the middle as well. He's gone now, was in the middle as well. But he was not as low vibrational as Jack was. And of course, Jack moved along the spectrum of vibration like we all do. We go up and down all the time. But he was definitely going in the direction of the dark. Whereas Robert wouldn't have done this. And therefore, Clea might have justified staying with him and behaving a certain way forever, even if it meant not expressing herself fully. And this is why. So we want Clea to know, because Clea has been regretting almost making the wrong choice, which she thought was the wrong choice. This is why these reviews come up. These life reviews come up. So we can look at things and know how we truly feel about things, and then come to an understanding and acceptance that really mostly understanding, because you cannot have acceptance without understanding of why we made certain choices, of why things have shown up a certain way. And so now Clea will think about this, and then she will understand. She will integrate it fully. It's integrating now, but it's not fully integrated, but it will happen. And so this is why, another reason I wanted to share this with you, because it seems that we have lived through certain situations. Again, the reason this came up for me, I hadn't thought about these people in a long time, my goodness. I had a dream about a situation where there were 3 choices for me, and I know it was a past life. And all of a sudden, I remember this life. And I'm like, do we always do the same thing? But this might very well be, or it seems to be, because we've aligned with going to New Earth for a long time. So the same choices come up again and again because we give ourselves options. Options are available, and we keep making the same choice that is in alignment with where we're trying to go to. And so, of course, I would have not been doing the work I'm doing now had I been in a very 3D mindset. And I don't mean 3D like the people that have gone to the 3D chambers, because since even in my 3D ways, since I was 20, I went to college and I studied economics. And the first thing we knew was that the government is parasitic. Not only, but I know a lot of people and I see how they behave at very high levels of society. And so I know it's not all what they're telling us, right? But so at the same time, it's true that I would have been too comfortable to do anything about it or to even delve deeper. So this kind of all makes sense to me. And I hope it brings to mind situations in your life that may have not been clear, that you might thinking back and wondering why you went down a certain path. And so in fact, this is Lorrayne's comment. She says, thank you. I'm sure we have all looked recently in our life review and realized some paths not taken. So let's move on to a dream that I had. You guys know that I like sharing these with you because they are the equivalent for me. This is how I do a lot of my work, is in dream state. They are the equivalent for me of getting downloads from the 25th, like when I ask, when I'm awake, or when I do hypnosis sessions. So I do like to share these with you because they absolutely speak to what we are doing, the work we are doing right now during the transition period. Lorrayne. Okay, on 10/8/2022, so that's October 8th of last year, Clea dreamed that she and her brother were in a huge event space, and there were round tables with white cloths everywhere. Each table had a board game on it. It was a Monopoly competition with many teams competing and many games to play until there was a final winning team. It was morning. We were going to start with the first round of games, but a guy who looked like Anthony, Dr. Anthony, and the last name will make him as Fraudchi. Even though I can't say his name. Even though his name was Solly and he was Anthony's brother or twin or something, came up to us and told us we had to stay out of the first game. We were disappointed, meaning my brother and I were disappointed, as we had been so excited to play, but we figured it was to give the others a bit of an advantage So my brother and I were notoriously good at board games and had an unfair advantage. But then we realized that we were not going to be allowed to play in any of the games at all. We told people that a guy who looked like Fraudchi had told us to stay out, but nobody knew of him, only of the actual Fraudchi. I think that the dream ended with us telling everyone who would listen about this guy and nobody knowing what we're talking about. I have to tell you, this dream had me rattled. I was very upset because, again, in dream state, you feel all the emotions, and I was very upset. And here's the thing, in dream state, you actually feel your genuine emotions. It's not like we feel them at 3D level where we're conscious, because we compartmentalize a lot. I especially am very good at this. I can put aside something and say, I'll get back to that later. And so everything is very muted just because of my upbringing and what I've specifically dealt with in my life. I'm sure I'm not the only one. We're all very good at compartmentalizing here. I mean, we do it all the time. We're pretending that stuff doesn't exist, for example. But in dream state, this doesn't happen. So you feel your emotion very vividly, it's very gripping. So I often get up, you know, after having these dreams, get up like riled up. It's not just the emotion that I would have in real life. Because in real life, I might have been upset that I couldn't have played, but I would have been like, well, it was just a game. But in the dream, that's not how it felt. I was very, very upset. So here's the answer, the interpretation from the 25th dimension. Yes. So Clea's brother is also on the team of the light. And this dream very much speaks to how we on the team of the light feel and have felt. So I think you can see the analogy. It's very clear, the board games and many teams playing. And then we have Fraudchi. What does Fraudchi represent, if not the darkness? And they were laughing. He's one of the biggest representatives of the dark on this planet at this time. Well, he was. He's been gone for a while. And so the dark is telling us, people of the light, to stay out of the game. We can't play. And of course, in the beginning, we're thinking, okay, fine, we can make up for this. We'll just skip the first game. It's not a big deal. But then they tell us, no, you cannot play at all, because otherwise you're going to win, or you're going to change this game because we want it a certain way. And you see, we tried to warn people, to tell people what was happening, and they don't even know what we're talking about. So you see, it's very similar to the dream we described in the last session with the situation on the bus, where we have a representation of the planet, how life as a whole has been here, with different characters behaving different ways. We care, we're worried, we want to help, whereas somebody else says, oh no, I can't be bothered, I got other stuff to do, I really don't care what the problem is here, etc., etc. This is the same thing. This was very much a representation of the matrix. I mean, you cannot make it any more clear with the board games, and you have the light and the dark, but you also have all the bystanders, people that are lost in their games, people that are playing, they don't even know what's going on. Not only the other people, you're telling them what's going on. This is not right. This is not fair. We have this person doing this. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And not only, but they're aware of the real Anthony Fraudchi. And they're like, they're totally okay with that because they don't care that it's dark either. They're like, okay. So you see, this is very much, again, a representation of what life has been here. Clea was very, very frustrated in the game. And this is what we've been referring to as light workers, but really as people on the side of the light in general, because her brother is not a light worker. He's on the team of the light, but he's not a light worker. And we have felt like we're fighting everybody. We are trying to get something done, but people will not follow us. People will not support our ideas. This is very much what happened when we called the takedown, or we got to the extreme where we had to call the takedown, because we wanted to recalibrate things and nobody was even understanding why we needed to recalibrate. We're enjoying, we're playing. Now, again, it's symbolic, this dream. Doesn't mean it was the entire light team that wanted to do this. There were many people on the team of the light that also were going along with things. We've all gone along with things. And so that's where we're at. That's what the dream was about. It was a representation, again, of how we've lived our life here. And again, the key, why are these dreams important? And they're important for Clea because she's doing this work consciously. If somebody does not want to remember their dreams, then they're not important in that sense, and that's okay. We're all playing. We're all doing exactly what we need to be doing. But for Clea, why is it important to remember these dreams? because what she remembers is the emotions tied to these dreams. And that's how she can gauge where she is at an emotional level, mental level. And in fact, even now, as we are speaking of this dream to her, she's frustrated and she's feeling the frustration, which again, many on the team of the light have felt and feel to this day. You feel like you're going up against a wall. This is just a train that you know is going to hit the wall. You already know the train is going to hit the wall. In fact, we're even being taken out of the game. We're being told by the dark, you're done. We don't want to hear from you. You're not going to play. You think you're going to play. You think you're all equal, but you're not equal. We call the rules now. The Sully. Who the hell is Sully? And we're laughing. And all of a sudden he's telling us, no, you guys cannot play. And in the beginning we thought, oh, that's fair. Okay, yeah, because otherwise it's an unfair advantage. So that's fair. We shouldn't play. Either way, we can make up for this because we are good. We're going to win anyway. And he said, yeah, you're just not going to play at all. We don't need you. We don't need this kind of messing with the game. They were laughing. Stay out of it. Do you see how frustrating this is? And we feel it. And Clay is feeling it. And we can feel the energy. And it is frustrating for us on the team of the light, what we have had to deal with here. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you, as always, for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.